The state of North Carolina is embroiled in a sort of scandal as they approach their March 15th primary election. A federal court ruled on February 5th that congressional district lines drawn in 2011 are invalid because they packed African American voters into two districts without just cause. Now, the same court has tasked the state to redraw their congressional districts by a February 19th deadline. So this process is called gerrymandering. What is gerrymandering?
Gerrymandering is when the political establishment, along with redistricting coordinators, seek to cluster certain groups along certain boundaries or within certain boundaries, so they influence the outcome of elections. Usually, their own elections. Right. So their districts can pretty much remain solvent, so they can guarantee that they win their elections.
In modern times, right now, this is a Republican strategy that they use to limit the number of seats that Democrats can hold inside their state, inside the United States of House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm. And later on in that article, it gives kind of a good narrative of the motive for gerrymandering in such a way. In padding those two districts with more black voters in 2011, Republicans tried to make their own districts safe for future elections by moving Democratic-leaning African-American voters into a smaller number of districts. It was a textbook racial gerrymander. North Carolina was already tied with Maryland as the most gerrymandered state in the nation. The packing of African Americans into two districts made the gerrymandering look even shadier. And, I'm glad they mentioned it being a racial gerrymander, because you have to qualify it like that, because there is another reason to gerrymander, and that's probably along the lines of class. But this particular gerrymandering is obviously racial because it clumps black people into a cluster, because they know black people would typically vote Democrat. So it kind of it limits, I guess, the voice of black people to affect their elections.
Mm-hmm. So to give you an example, if you've never seen a congressional district, we want to give you a few examples. So we live in South Carolina. All right, so this is South Carolina's congressional district map. Now, as you see, there's clusters, to the east, west, north, south. This is pretty typical of what you see in a congressional district map. Now, on the surface, this doesn't look like it could be, that it is gerrymandered. We'd have to look into the specifics of, who actually populates these districts to see if they are, trying to clump black voters in together to reduce the impact of their vote. So, but like I said, on the surface, this looks like, this could be a legit map. Okay, so here's Oklahoma. Again, this beige section right here, that's probably a less populated area, rural area. So that's why it's bigger. But again, it doesn't really look like, this is obscene or anything like that. Again, we'd have to look at the statistics to know if this has been gerrymandered. Okay, so let's look at another one. This is Tennessee. Again, to the left over there on the west, the west side, Memphis. That's a really populated area. That's why that district is so small. But again, this looks pretty normal. We'd have to look deeper to find out if this is actually a gerrymander state or not. Now let's look at North Carolina. So this is North Carolina. In North Carolina, there are 13 districts in North Carolina. So as you see there, it looks quite different than the other states that we've shown you. But let's look at the two districts that this court was talking about, and that's District 1 and that's District 12. This is District 12. What the hell is that? What in the world kind of district is that? There must be there is miles separating the most southern point of this district from the north part of this district. It looks like a serpentine.
No, I mean it It looks like they used like a map, right? And like they put a map on a table, and they just took a knife to it.
Yeah,
and they said, "This is the district."
Exactly. I mean, this was very purposeful. There's no way a district should look like this. This is a typical gerrymandered district. So this is just District 12. All right. So let's look at District 1, which was also, according to the court, a gerrymandered district that needs to be redrawn. There's a big cluster in the north, but look at all these other little clusters to the east of it and to the south. This is not your typical type of district. And again, as the courts held, this was done to limit the impact that African American voters will have on the voting process. So, look, folks, it's being done all across the country, and we're going to show you that as well. But this has been a process that's been going on for decades now, and it's legal. The Supreme Court doesn't do anything to restrict these states from drawing these districts in a way that will disenfranchise voters. So we already showed you North Carolina's 1st and 12th districts. The North Carolina's 12th district is actually the most gerrymandered district in the country. So what's next? Which one is next? Maryland, which Mike, you read about Maryland. Yeah. Maryland's 3rd district. Look at that. What is that? What is that? I mean, that's a deliberate attempt to do something you're probably not supposed to be doing. Right? I mean, look at it.
Abstract art.
What that's exactly what it looks like.
It looks like somebody just threw paint.
Yeah. I mean,
on the map, and they say, "Oh, that's the district."
There's intent behind them drawing the map that way. And if we looked at exactly who's living in these areas, we would not be surprised to find that it's mostly black people. So that this is Florida's 5th district. Again, how many miles is separating?
Who knows? And there's a lot of Latinos in Florida.
Yeah, there's lots of Latinos. There's a lot of black people too. But look at this. It's crazy. This is Pennsylvania's 7th district. This is Texas's 33rd district. Now, this is Illinois' 4th district.
No, it looks like a dog head.
Yeah, I don't know what this is and how they could pass this off as actually legit. This is not a real district. It's not what a real district should look like. So those are just some examples of what's going on across the country. And again, this is a way that Republicans use. This is a method that Republicans use to put as many Republicans in office as they can. Because as we know, as we've stated before, this country has been moving left for some time now. If the Republicans did it in a fair way, like they should, they know that the spots that would go to Republicans in these state elections would be limited. But they want their message to continue. They want to hold on to their power inside Washington, inside state decisions, and this is the method that they choose so that to ensure that happens.
I mean, you want to talk about limiting people's rights.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about limiting people's voice. You want to talk about, limiting people's ability to choose those politicians that best represent their interest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a big part of maintaining this corrupt system is doing all the above.
Mm-hmm.
And gerrymandering the hell out of a state.
That's right.
And, those guilty of doing that have too much financial incentive
Mm-hmm.
to stay in power.
Right.
Actually, not just financial incentive, but a bit cultural incentive too.
That's right. They
Things
want the
they're
country
afraid
to look
stay
like
a certain way, and they have to
what they're envisioning.
And the thing is, and not only is it like that, they have to force it to be that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to think about that. You think about how like messed up that is. Think about how controlling that is, where they feel that they have to control how people vote in order to stay in power, which means that
to remain
influential. That means they know that their brand of politics is not going to last long.
Exactly.
And it's not popular, and it's not what most people want. This is why they have to do these things.
But so, you wonder why, in Texas, how they revamped, the textbooks in Texas. And, they wanted to paint slavery as not as bad as it is, as it really was, of course. They wanted to be more, more focused on Christianity, the textbooks. And the reason why they do that is because Republicans are in charge and they make the decisions. The few Democrats that lament, they don't really hold any power together. So the Republican agenda gets pushed forward. This is how these states make these decisions, because of gerrymandering. It's happening all across the country. So at least North Carolina has recognized the problem. Now, what took them almost 5 years to recognize the problem, because it was in 2011 that these lines were drawn. But at least the court has said, hey, look, these two districts look stupid. You need to fix this. You have till February 19th to get it done. So we'll see what progress they make and, what kind of map they come up with. I'm not expecting a whole lot.
No. No matter what you try to do, they will try to come up with some tactic as a means to keep things the way they are. Right. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and keep people aware of what is going on. So,
right. Well, whatever decision they come to, we will update you.